The Steam Next Fest is still very much upon us. The Steam Next Fest is a celebration of upcoming games. Quite literally hundreds of demos to try out. More demos than any person can reasonably play within a week. By the time this video releases, you'll only have about 2 more days to enjoy your Steam Next Fest. So you better start playing the demos now before some of those demos disappear forever, you know? If you haven't watched part 1 of my Steam Next Fest coverage, then you should do so. I covered 10 Next Fest demos in that prior video, so you're not going to see them here again. And if you do like this video, please like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends. This lets me know that I'm doing well, and it greatly benefits the YouTube algorithm, allowing me to make my videos higher and higher quality as time passes by. So while part 1 was 10 demos specifically, this part will be basically whatever I play and whatever I like. There could be 10 demos, there could be 15 or even 20 demos, but we won't know until later, you know? Before we talk about any more Next Fest demos, let's talk about why more and more developers should be partaking in the Steam Next Fest. Gamers love the Next Fest because it gives them a chance to try out some new demos. Content creators love it because they can try out a game and pick and choose what games they wish to cover. And even marketing directors like Ryan T. Brown believe that the Next Fest is becoming bigger and more important for indie developers. If you're an indie developer watching this, maybe check out this thread on Twitter. You can also check it out if you're just curious about how marketing actually works and how the Next Fest may impact game success. So without further ado, here are some more demos. So the first game I want to show off was a game called Inda. I had a couple of viewers tell me that I should check out this demo, and I can see why. I've stated in the past that I love weird games, and this is delightfully weird enough. It's not the weirdest demo I've tried out, but at the very least, it is interesting. It's a sort of puzzle exploration horror. Is it psychological horror? Maybe it is, I don't know. You take the role of a Russian nun with the devil as your travel companion. The devil is really snide and unhelpful, and most importantly, he's hilarious. At first glance, I thought this would be like a straight up horror game, but with the devil around, it makes it seem more like a black comedy game, which is great. The game does work on Steam Deck. The game defaults to ultra graphics, but you can turn it down to high and the snow particles don't look weirdly pixelated on your character. You can also turn down the resolution scale. I turned it down to 75%. The game looks amazing and the cinematography is excellent. It kind of gives me Sundance indie film vibes. The next demo on this list is Corpus EX. It's an immersive sim with a greater emphasis on hand-to-hand combat. I do think the demo could have done a better job of explaining the basic combat mechanics, but I managed to figure it out pretty well. But it's not just a punching simulator, it aspires to be a full-on immersive sim. But one of the great hallmarks of a truly great immersive sim is the ability to not have to fight at all if you build into it. Immersive sims are more difficult to evaluate as a demo because, well, simply put, there's a lot to immersive sims that need to be taken into consideration. But the basic combat mechanics and also the stealth mechanics, I think are pretty solid. But more of these first-person hand-to-hand games need to feature the ability to grapple enemies. And I mean just basic grappling, I don't mean like going full-on wrestling, suplexing dudes, although that would be awesome. This is definitely one to watch out for. Unfortunately, this game didn't really run that well on Steam Deck. It runs, but it doesn't have the best performance. The next demo on this list is Tokyo Psychodemic. It's part visual novel, part investigation game. You work seemingly paranormal cases. You team up with powerful colleagues, some of which go above and beyond even the law itself. You have a wide variety of tools at your disposal. These types of forensic simulators, they're not for everyone, but I think they're an interesting concept. It's got an interesting mix of anime and live action footage. And yes, as per usual, the game runs pretty well on Steam Deck. Not that I would have expected it not to. Next up is a game called Balatro. It's a roguelike deck builder themed after poker. The main goal is to beat every single level by earning a certain amount of chips. While you do have access to standard poker hands, the deck building in this game makes it go over the top. Jokers give you additional passive benefits. Planetary cards can level up specific hands, and Arcana cards are powerful one-time use cards that go beyond the realm of what poker should be. You can also add additional cards to your deck and even change suits of your cards, allowing you to obtain clearly illegal poker hands, such as a 5 of a kind. But even with all of these crazy effects into play, a standard understanding of poker hands really does carry you all the way. Yeah, royal flushes are still really good. This game works great on Steam Deck and it's controller friendly as well. I'm very curious to see how the developers can further break poker because my god, this is awesome. I don't know, maybe they can like add some Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon cards to the mix. Next up is Awaken Astro Blade. The game looks really good. The game has a 3D art style, but it like almost makes you think it's 2D. And I'm not talking about the perspective. Anyways, it's a 2D action Metroidvania. There's a heavier emphasis on combat here. I suppose the only issue I have with the game is the combat is a little clunky for my taste. It aspires to be something fast, kind of like a 2D Devil May Cry, but it doesn't feel nearly as smooth. But I still quite like the game. The game works pretty well on Steam Deck. If the game is still in development, I do hope the developers tighten up the combat before release. Right now, it just feels a little clunky, and it's not as easy to intuitively combo. Next up is Astro Party. It's like anime Mario Party. I could have sworn I've played an anime Mario Party before. I think it was called
100% オレンジジュース
Anyways, this is a different take on Mario Party, but anime. It's pretty similar, like extremely similar. Compared to Orange Juice, there's no deck building, but I assume that's just because this is like a demo. This is supposed to be free to play, but Orange Juice is freaking dirt cheap, you know, unless you like want to buy all the DLCs. There's also no chat in the game, meaning you can't see how salty people get. That's like the #1 reason to play Mario Party. I will admit, it is kind of disingenuous to judge this game based on the fact that it's more or less 100% Orange Juice, but more anime, but like, it's extremely hard not to see the resemblance. In terms of structure, that is. It does have a higher production value, so there's that too. But 100% Orange Juice just has a legendary status as a meme game. Yes, it works on Steam Deck, but the game's entirely mouse controlled, so there's no controller controls. The next demo on this list is Meld. It's like a card-based survival game, if that makes sense. Your goal essentially is to clear scenarios. You more or less explore areas represented by cards. You get resources represented by cards. You get new characters represented by cards. And you fight enemies that are also represented by cards. I had some issue playing this on Steam Deck to begin with, but for whatever reason, when I launched the game on PC and played it for a bit, and then I guess tried launching on Steam Deck once again, it ended up working. It is a bit of a confusing game, and it's difficult to describe without, you know, just experiencing it for yourself. I'm also not doing a great job of explaining the game because it's just difficult to explain. But if you want to try it out for yourself, if you're vaguely interested, which I am vaguely interested, I would recommend trying out the demo for yourself. Meld releases in Q2 2024. Next up is a game called Botsu. Essentially, it's like party animals with robots. There's a wide variety of different game modes, and there's a wide variety of different gadgets and different rule modifiers as well. It's a physics-based game which allows for some really cool interactions. And in most game modes, you'll be able to boost around using your jetpack, or actually, you actually fly more like Iron Man than anything really. Typically with these types of games, it's not about winning, it's about ensuring everyone else loses. Because the most fun I usually have with these games is griefing other people. The game is playable on Steam Deck, in fact that's where I played the game. But the real question is, will this game be available offline? One of the big controversies with Party Animals was that the developers said that the game would be offline, but the game is in fact always online. Will this game also be always online, or will there be the possibility of playing this game offline? And finally, this is the first I've seen a Next Fest demo that straight up isn't a game. This is called MSM Maker. It's basically a 3D character maker. They're essentially advertising the characters you create as meta soulmates. I sure hope this has nothing to do with making AIs that'll kill us all in the future, right? Anyways, this is the first non-game I've covered on the Steam Next Fest because I probably just haven't seen any before? That's weird. The demo itself is pretty limited, and honestly, you can't even pose the characters when you're trying to take screenshots of them. Maybe you'll be able to do so in the full game, and maybe in the full game you can export the models to actually, I don't know, do something. Compared to say Vroid Studio, which is where I first created my VTuber avatar, the graphics look nicer, but it's a little more limited in scope. Whether or not this will be a success greatly depends on what you can do with the models after you create them in this program. The next demo, of course, is a game called Arctide. It's a tactical first-person shooter roguelike. The levels are procedurally generated. Random events happen. There's also a number of survival mechanics, like hunger. This is probably the most interesting FPS this next fest. Every firefight is a fight for survival, a desperate struggle to survive. This is what makes games exciting. There's a very good chance you won't make it out alive. I know what demo I'm spending the weekend trying out. As for Steam Deck, yes, the game does run on Steam Deck, but it doesn't perform the best on Steam Deck, unfortunately. Not to mention there's no true controller support. I might have to fiddle around more with the settings, but the best I could do is a fairly consistent 30 FPS, which isn't too bad for a slower paced shooter, but still. And of course, last but certainly not least is Berserk Boy. I saw this one recommended by friend of the channel, Fan the Deck, and you know what, I'm a Mega Man fanboy, so I had to try this game out. And he's right, it's good stuff. We need more Mega Man likes in the world, and every time I see a Mega Man like on the next fest, I have to try it out. I've already tried out one earlier, and now I get to try out this one as well. While the combat itself is quite different, it certainly evokes a Mega Man style feel. It's basically a perfect Steam Deck game. The game also comes out very soon, like next month soon. So there we have it, part 2 of my Steam Deck Next Fest coverage. There were some real gems in here as per usual, but I felt that the previous Next Fest was one of the best Next Fests we've ever had. And while this one is very good, this wasn't as good as that last one. But still, the Next Fest is an exciting proposition. I don't like being a backseat dev, but I love being a backseat marketer. And the Next Fest isn't just for indie developers, it's for basically any developer that wants to make a game. And yes, this includes AAA developers. I've seen a AAA game on here, Homeworld 3. Not to mention, I've seen Square Enix partake in the Next Fest the last couple of times. But as for you, the gamer, you still have the weekend to try out all of these demos and many more. If you like this video, please press the like button and check out our other videos. And if you like those other videos as well, be sure to press the subscribe button and share the good gospel of high-tech lowlife with your friends. Furthermore, we have a community Discord for enlightened individuals such as you. And if you wish to further support high-tech lowlife, be sure to check out our Patreon page. Links in the description.